Community of Green Township has been in a fight that we've never asked for. The fight to preserve our very way of life. If you would have told me a few years ago that this little community would be on the front lines of a fight against the Chinese Communist Party, I would have never have believed you. And yet here we are today, and I am proud to say that we are still standing. The Chinese Communist Party-owned Gotion Corporation attempted to force itself into our community under a shroud of secrecy, first using code names like Project Elephant to conceal their true identity. In true communist fashion, they used deception and propaganda to convince politicians and economic development organizations that they are harmless and pose no threat. They even lied about who truly owns the company. Until one day when a few of us locals started to ask questions and do a little research, which revealed the company's obligations to act in the interests of the Chinese Communist Party. They pledge allegiance to it, and they are committed to promote the CCP company. These aren't my words. These are Gotion's words as found in their own articles of association on the company website. Then we learned that their CEO, who bragged in his own bio about being a member of the CCP. The more we learned, the worse it got, and the worse yet, the politicians who readily signed off on this without performing even the slightest bit of due diligence. Our township board, our county commissioners, our state legislature, our state senate, and of course our radical Governor Whitmer, these are the people we thought would at least do something to vet this company, to ensure that our tax dollars were being used to lure trustworthy economic partners to our state. But instead, every single one of them failed to even perform even the tiniest bit of research. It isn't hard, people. It's just called Google, and you can find out the information yourself. Gotion doesn't even try to hide the fact that who they are and get past the lies of their spokesperson, China Chuck Thielen. The truth is found in their founding documents, their FARA report, and the shareholders' meeting minutes. It's all very easy to find online. What this really comes down to is a larger and more alarming trend that I've never seen in my lifetime until now. Politicians completely obsessed with telling us how to live and wanting absolute control of our lives. They don't care about the national security. They don't care about the environmental hazard that Gotion is bringing to our community. All they care about is money, and they want to force impractical electric vehicles on everyday Americans as part of their Green New Deal. The radical left politicians like Gretchen Whitmer, Kamala Harris, Eliza Slott, quietly envy the CCP as a model for what they would like our country to be. Well, I have news. This is America, people, and we are the people. We are the ones that decide. We will live our lives, not the political class or anyone else for that matter. Our rights don't come from government, they come from God. And we are the check and balance against the government that's out of control. So when our township board thought they knew what was best for us, even though our community vastly rejected it, we recalled them. When our county commissioners thought they knew what was best for us, we had a survey that conducted by multiple sources showed that 80 to 90% of our county didn't want Gotion here, and we replaced them in the primary election. So we are doing good, guys. This grassroots movement is doing a phenomenal job. And now the No Gotion County Commission majority is on their way to the general election in November. And make no mistake, Eliza Slotkin, the congresswoman who is now running for U.S. Senate, who has also signed a non-disclosure agreement with Gotion and participated in their deception, we will reject you too. And guys, that's why we need Mike Rogers. We need him for U.S. and Senate in November. He understands that American politicians work for us. We don't work for them. At this point, I also want to take a moment to do a huge shout out and thank Congressman John Molinar, former Ambassador Pete Hoekstra, Joe Sella, Lana Tice, and Tom Kuntz, and Honorable Judge Mark Boonstra as well. These people all deserve your applause. They have all been helping us from day one. These are what a true example of what leadership should look like. Our battle is far from over, But every day we continue to gain ground and more truth about Gotion continues to be revealed. As I look at the people who have been instrumental in our fight, I am absolutely convinced. Okay, I'm sorry. But I'm absolutely convinced that only God could have assembled the talent, skills, and relationship that we've been blessed with to have on our team. Gotion underestimated us from the moment. And they underestimated us, and they never realized how strong we are. We will not back down, we will not go away, and we will continue to fight them every step of the way until they pack up and leave this community for good. And it's my hope that the new class of elected officials in our township and county governments, along with our good friend Congressman Molinar and our next U.S. Senator Mike Rogers, will not only help us finish the job, but also put safeguards in place so Chinese Communist Party will never be able to threaten us on our own soil ever again, while using our tax dollars to do it. So thank you so much for coming and showing your support. I'm sorry, I'm a horrible speaker. But thank you, and the real important people will be talking here in a minute. And after this is over, the horses will be showing up. Thank you.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm State Senator Lana Tice. Laura just mentioned me. Thank you. Isn't Lori awesome? Farming, which I don't know if you guys are all aware, but that pretty much takes up all of every day, all the time. And then in comes people tear up the area around her farm and harm her family farm. Absolutely unacceptable. Of course, they didn't intend to farm it, or at least that's what they say, or to harm it, but that's what it's to do. And so I'm State Senator Lana Tice. I'm from the 22nd District. It's southern, it's other side of the state. Why, you might ask, am I here? Well, I serve on the Appropriations Committee. And Joseph Sella sent me some about some stuff that was going to be coming. Now, put your tax dollars in a corporate pocket anyway, so I was going to be a no. But this caused me to actually start to dig a little bit deeper, and the deeper I dug, the worse it got. I was shocked. The initial offer, she mentioned it, the elephant offer, is well over $1 billion between cash and credits that the state was going to offer that was going to create an unfair business environment here in Mecosta County. One of the things that we heard right up to begin with was we're going to be providing great jobs. Awesome. That must mean there aren't jobs available right now, right? Well, I asked Lori about this. She said last time she checked, there were over 1,700 open job positions. I talked to a fellow who has a business here, and he was almost crying. He was telling me, you guys are going to put in my backyard another business that you subsidize, where you help them pay their other people's salaries when I can't find enough employees to do my job and keep my business running already. This is not acceptable. So I started doing the research, started figuring out what Gotion was. And the more you dig, the more you learn. And it's astounding how secret they kept everything. Those non-disclosure agreements are absolutely unacceptable. That should never happen. But here I am sitting in committee. They've handed me a PowerPoint presentation. The people in front of me are sitting there saying, it's okay. This is Gotion America. We are not controlled by Gotion in China or the CCP. We're not connected at all. And then they hand me a PowerPoint, and you guys are going to be shocked by this. I'm glad you're all sitting. There was a Gotion logo, not Gotion San Francisco, but Gotion China, on every single page. Then there's a map, which actually, if you'd like a copy of it, I brought one in my car. There's a map that shows their headquarters is China, Hefei. Gotion headquarters in China. Now, for any of you that are familiar with the CCP, that means they're subject to CCP rules. So I see that as a huge problem. And then the lies just continued. There wasn't going to be an environmental problem. Okay, prove it. How much environmental assessment did you do prior to choosing this location? Today, they still have not provided me with any evidence of having done that. Okay, so is this a good location? Well, apparently at one point they were saying this area was going to be a great location because it has rail. No, it doesn't. And it hasn't maybe for like 100 years. It's been a long, long time. So that means they're going to put this extraordinarily heavy equipment on the freeways next to your family van in the middle of winter. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, absolutely everything. So the environmental issue was a huge issue. The safety is a huge issue, and then the economy. So why would Michigan pledge to send over 150 of your million of your taxpayer dollars to a company that we're just guessing they're going to be successful? They're only at half capacity in China right now. It makes no sense to expand capacity for something that people don't want. And our car companies are learning the hard way that people do not want to exchange their gas-powered truck for an electric vehicle. It becomes difficult in winter, and oh, by the way, the many billions of dollars that they promised for charging stations, very few charging stations, if any, have actually gone up. But the billions have been spent. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how this is going on. So I want to tell you a little bit of story real quickly. So when I got started, I just had this phone call from Ambassador Sella. And I started talking to Lori, and I'm hearing from the people that are here, like, we're not activists, we don't have any idea what to do. And they built a grassroots army that is so extraordinary. You guys are all part of it. It is hard to unseat a sitting politician, and you did it. You did it through recall, and you did it through election, and it's going to happen in November, too. Awesome, yes, hands up for you. Applause for Lori and for the entire team. You guys are amazing. It is hard. I got started doing grassroots stuff, and it's amazing. You're at home, you're thinking you're just going to live your life, and then the government comes in and says no, and and you fight back. God bless you. So thank you guys. And then I also want to thank, because it's hard to stand up, never surrender. Yes, that's awesome. It is hard to stand up. I want to thank Congressman Molinar. And Congressman, I was actually looking at the committee that you chair to try to memorize its title. That's a long title, dude. So I summarized it. It is the Strategic Anti-Bad Guy Committee. Thank you for Chairman Hoekstra, and thank you to Congressman, soon-to-be Senator, Mike Rogers, for getting into this fight. And I don't know if you guys saw it, Donald Trump came in yesterday opposed to Gotion. Congressman, it's a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Tice. All right, good to be with you. Well, thank you so much. And I just want to, again, where did Lori Brock go? Thank her for her leadership, for hosting us. This is the second rally I've been to here, and it's just a beautiful facility, and I just love what you're doing here. It's wonderful to be with Ambassador. Our Chairman Pete Hoekstra is doing a fantastic job leading our Republican Party, bringing us together to win in November. And what a privilege it is to be here with Mike Rogers. And Mike is going to be our next United States Senator. And I'll tell you, it's going to be really important to have a partner in the Senate like Mike, because, you know, when you think of his background, it's all about protecting and serving. You know, he served in the Army, served in the FBI, He was the chairman of the Intelligence Committee. And when I think about the challenges we face as a nation, when you consider a overly aggressive China partnering with a no limits partnership with Russia, with their affiliations with Iran, North Korea, it's very concerning. And we're going to need someone with discernment and someone with the leadership to help lead our country. And I think that's Mike Rogers. So Mike, thanks for being here with us. Thanks for standing with these people. And I tell you, there's a big contrast. You know, Mike has been very available. He's been very transparent. You contrast that with Alyssa Slotkin. You know, she was in the CIA, so she's kind of used to flying under the radar, very used to doing things in secret, which is probably why she signed a non-disclosure agreement. You know, I never signed a non-disclosure agreement, and this proposal was in this district, the district I represent. So I think it's going to be really important that we ask the questions of Alyssa Slotkin, of Tim Walz, the new vice presidential nominee. Why did he go to China 30 times? I mean, I don't think I've ever visited my grandparents that many times. You know, 30 times, that's a lot. And when you think of Gretchen Whitmer, when you think of the hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars that have been spent on Gotion, and you know, we had a roundtable recently here, and I thought it was really outstanding. We had a lot of people from the local community come out. You know, Gotion has said all along they want to be very transparent, right? We invited Gotion to come to our roundtable. We heard from a lot of experts. Gotion declined. You know, they've spent over $1 million on lobbying. They spent more than that when it comes to legal fees, PR. You know, remember, they're getting a lot of your taxpayer dollars. But they sent, and they could not find someone to send to represent Gotion. So it's kind of interesting when they say they want to be transparent. Why wouldn't they be straightforward and open and honest? Well, I think there's a reason for that. Right after we had our roundtable, Gotion came out and said, President Trump supports Gotion. Did you see that? Did you see that communication? I think President Trump made it pretty clear yesterday when he said, I am 100% opposed to Gotion. It's bad for Michigan and bad for our country. So I can see why Gotion isn't transparent. But what about this whole idea of they don't have any penetration from the CCP? Now, Senator Tice really and Lori talked a little bit about their pledging allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party and sending executives to Chinese Communist Party meetings. But there is a reason why our Defense Department will not buy Gotion batteries. They will not allow Gotion batteries. And it has to do with supply chain issues in the Xinjiang province where they have slave labor. It has to do with their partnerships with the People's Liberation Army of China. And so why in the world would we want to build Gotion batteries 100 miles from Camp Grayling? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you know, Gotion says that if you oppose this plant, it's part of this anti-Asian sentiment. Have you heard that? Like it's somehow racist to be opposed to the Gotion plant.
It's gaslighting.
Well, it's gaslighting. And you know, you have to realize that the biggest oppressor of Asians is the people of China who are oppressed by the Chinese Communist Party. So whether you talk to people who are oppressed in China, mainland China, Hong Kong, if you think about people in Taiwan who are threatened with an invasion every day, when you think about the aggressive nature toward the Philippines, Japan, you'd have to say that the biggest oppressor of Asians is the Chinese Communist Party. So that's what we're against. And we don't need to be further dependent on the Chinese Communist Party. Now, finally, you know, Gotion has said they want to be good corporate citizens, right? So they're giving out a few thousand here, a few thousand there. Remember, they're getting hundreds of millions of your taxpayer dollars. But, you know, why would a good corporate citizen sue the township that they're trying to locate? And I think the community has been pretty clear, and Gotion has said if the community doesn't want them, that they won't stay here. I think the message of the recent elections, both in the township as well as the county, is no Gotion. Would you agree with that? You know, China is not the same today as it was 30 years ago or even 3 years ago. And we have to recognize they are a powerful military, a powerful country, and we have to acknowledge that. But it doesn't mean we have to accept unfair trade practices. It doesn't mean we have to accept them stealing our technologies. It doesn't mean that we have to accept military aggression or their genocidal tendencies. That is not acceptable. In America, we choose freedom. I see it right there on the sign. So the voters in November are going to have a big choice to make. We've seen the Democrats are all in partnering with Gotion. And we've seen how they are willing to do everything from subsidizing it on the state level. They're going to try and do it on the federal level. So we've got to elect the right people this November. Because at the end of the day, and if there's anything you remember from my speech today, it's that we do not want to trade a majestic Frisian horse for a Chinese communist Trojan gift horse that will only lead to future problems for America. Thank you. God bless you. I'm so proud to stand with Chairman Hoekstra, and he's been one of the first to help us understand the significance of this threat. Chairman Hoekstra.
Thanks, John. Hats off to you. I mean, when I think about this process, and I think I got invited up here maybe the first time 17 or 18 months ago, and, you know, I joined the people of Mecosta County standing alongside the road as you were protesting alongside the road and sending your message out to the people driving by. You know, we'd gotten a call and said, hey, there's things happening up north. They're putting a Chinese battery plant in, and we're giving billions of dollars there and to Marshall, and it's kind of like, well, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do. And then this crazy lady, Lori Brock, and some other folks up here. And I can say that I'm Frisian, okay? So when you're talking about Frisian horses and those types of things, you're making it personal. But Lori calls, and then she calls, after we're there at the protest, and some other folks said, hey, Pete, can you help us? And it's kind of like, yeah, this sounds like a worthwhile fight to get involved with. And one night Lori calls and says, we just got notified by, DEQ or Eagle. They think that my horses are polluting the stream down here. Some of you remember that? And they're going to come by and pay me a visit tomorrow morning. I said, oh, I was heading up there tomorrow anyway. I'll be there to greet them with you. We'll give them a cup of coffee. We'll give them a tour of the farm, and you'll see how well you're taking care of the land. And they came by. They came right by that road. They got to the driveway. They kept right on going. And it's kind of like, well, that's funny. Like, Lori's phone rings. She picks up the phone and says, yeah, we rode by your farm. It looks like you're doing everything just fine. No problems, no complaints here. And it's like, wow. If we can beat them on just giving a tour of a farm, maybe we can win this thing. And, you guys just kept on going. And I've been honored over the last 17, 18 months just to be a part of it. And thank you for inviting me in, because there's nothing better than seeing grassroots folks saving their community and telling the powers that be, this is our community and not yours. You have done a phenomenal job. All right, whether it's protesting on the streets, intimidating Whitmer's hench people as they're going to try to shut down and intimidate Lori, recalling your township supervisors, and I think we all know this has been a great team effort. Jason Cruz taking on a responsibility and taking on a job that I'm not sure anybody would want. But he continues just to dig through the mess and find out and expose the corruption that so many of you have talked about. We're going to beat this. This plant is not going to be built. All right? Why am I confident? Because, you beat them at the township level. You beat them at the county level. We now we're going to have enough support in the state house that you're going to beat them in Lansing. With the work that John is doing, you're going to beat them in the house. These handouts to the Chinese Communist Party, and it's nothing more than that. We are giving handouts to the Chinese Communist Party. John Molinar is going to stop that. And when you've got Donald Trump very clearly coming out yesterday and say, I'm sorry, no, I don't support giving billions of dollars to the Chinese Communist Party. No, those need to be American jobs, and if we're investing in any businesses, they need to be American businesses. And it's been said over and over, but I can't tell you, for those of us that have served in public office, how outright corrupt it is that you would have a member of the House of Representatives elected by you who would sign a non-disclosure agreement so that she would know what terms the state was giving money to the Chinese Communist Party. And who wanted to keep this secret? The Chinese Communist Party. So she signs an agreement the Chinese Communist Party wants her to sign. And if any of you would ask her a question, what are the criteria for giving this money to Gotion? What's her answer? Her answer is, sorry, I can't tell you. It's kind of like, wait a minute, this is my money. You took it from me, you took it to Lansing, and you're going to give it away, and I just agreed that the Chinese will know what's going on, but my constituents will not? How crazy is that? Which brings us to the man of the moment, Mr. Rogers. All right? I had the opportunity to serve with Mike in the House of Representatives. I had the job that he had as being chairman of the Intelligence Committee. I never served in the FBI, but if there's a guy that knows the difference between what is right and what is wrong, it is Mike Rogers. If there is a guy that will, now Newt Gingrich said I could make a penny squeal. Okay, I'm Dutch, I'm thrifty. But if there's a guy that is going to protect our investments, but also if there is a guy that knows how to protect America, it is Mike Rogers. The next senator from the United States, or from the state of Michigan, Mike Rogers. Mike, it is great to see you. Welcome to Big Rapids. And thank you for taking the lead on this. And thank you for running for the Senate. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you very much.
All right, are you guys fired up? We're going to beat this thing. With your help, we will beat this thing. Pretty excited. Yeah, you bet. You bet. Hey, thank you very much for being here on a Wednesday afternoon. We know it was hard. Listen, this is going to be as ugly a campaign as I've ever seen. You know how they lied about you? Guess what? They're lying about me, too. Matter of fact, I don't think the Democrats or Gotion or my opponent could find the truth if it were stapled to their backside and we gave them an ass map. I've never seen something that divides a community like this in a way that is not good for America in so many ways. So I'm going to do a couple of quick things. I want to tell you why it's important on the big picture, and then I'm going to tell you why it's important for us in this community to stand together. The Chinese are moving out. When I was chairman, when I was on the Intelligence Committee, we saw a change in their very aggressive attitude. They fired an anti-satellite missile in 2007 and hit a satellite. Now, the reason they did that is because satellites was a way that gave us smart soldiers, smart ships, smart bombs, and they knew that that was a strength. We were uncontested in space at that time. The reason that Donald Trump created the Space Force was because we are now competitive with China and Russia and others in space. Think about what that means for financial transactions, what it means for our GPS systems. They're moving out. Of late, we saw the great reaction from the Democrats and the Biden administration and the Harris administration when the spy balloon went over about 25 miles an hour. Remember the O.J. Simpson chase? Didn't that remind you of that a little bit? Like, oh, something really bad's happening, but we can't do much about it. We just let them spy across the United States. That data was being broadcast up to space. Beijing got everything they wanted. They just announced they're quadrupling the size of their signals intelligence collection platform in Cuba, focused on us. They just incurred U.S. airspace. This is the Chinese Communist Party. You know, the people who are going to put that company right here in our neighborhood, or trying to. They just joined the Russians and flew purposely into our airspace in Alaska to kind of flick us in the forehead. They have been aggressive in cyberspace. Matter of fact, they caught them in our networks, in sewer systems, in electric grids, and all of the social, like the government, local government offices in Hawaii. And why would they do that? They wanted to get into those networks, so if they do something out in the Pacific, like go into Taiwan, they flip the switch, your sewer doesn't work, your power doesn't work, your local government doesn't work, police radios don't work. Now, we caught them. That happened about a year ago. They are very aggressive, and they don't have our interests at heart. This is our chance to stand up and tell Washington, D.C., that apparently isn't listening very well, that we are not going to take a Chinese company with Chinese interests taking American jobs in our community. We got some big news today, a couple of big things. This community knew better than the entire Ford board and the CEO and all their high-paid consultants in Wall Street. They just announced they were canceling the electric vehicle for production for 2026. I'll be darned. Consumers matter. Oh, who would have thunk it in America? We also just got something else, and it proves how deceptive they are. They're deceptive about you and what happened here. They're deceptive about us on this Senate race. They're deceptive about what their policies are. They just came out and said, whoops, we overcounted. There's 800,000 less jobs than we've been telling you for the last few months. And 115,000 of them are manufacturing jobs. They're EV mandates. We now have 2,400 layoffs at Stellantis. This is the government doing it to a company, and unfortunately the company went along a little too eagerly, right? Ford, just now, they're going to cancel that plant. There's going to be layoffs on the horizon. General Motors just announced 1,000 layoffs, right? Ford lost $130,000 for every electric vehicle car they sold. This is what happens when the government does mandates and doesn't let the market work. They decided they wanted you to drive an electric car. They were going to mandate you have to buy one. They told the big three, or 2.5, that they were going to have to build these cars. And oh, by the way, we're going to save your day by forcing a Chinese Communist Party here, bringing in Chinese workers to build a battery plant that takes 40% less labor. If I wrote you a script about a year ago and said, hey, let's make this movie about how we beat the United States. We're going to mandate something you don't want to buy. It's not going to be environmentally friendly. 85% of that product has to be processed in China. This has got to be a great idea, doesn't it? You'd have laughed at me, said, no way would America do that to its own people. Guess what they're doing to our own people? And by the way, just want to talk about the environmental impact of this. We all know here, and again, I want to shout out Lori. I know you got a lot of shout out. Lori is not one to get those shout outs. But I will tell you, I was here just after the day they came and tried to mess with your dam over here because Whitmer sent the state over here to harass you again. Again. Right? The state, the people who are supposed to be our representatives, working against you, your interests, your community. Whitmer ever come up here and talk to you? No. Oh, yeah. Funny how that works. Yeah, she's in Chicago. Yeah. Is there possible she could stay, do you think? Oh, what do you think? Yeah, you could have her. That's hilarious. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I tell you that. Listen, they did a couple of things on this. 500 pounds of critical minerals makes one electric vehicle. Those they're called critical minerals because they're hard to get, right? And who controls 85% of either the production of it or processing of it? China. So they're going to mandate that you buy a product that you have to go through China, number one. Number two, guess what? It takes 40% less labor. If you just do the math, that's about 400,000 Michigan UAW jobs gone. What do you think that does to the value of our communities, our homes, our future for our kids? It's transformative, all right. I'm going to steal your line. Can I steal your line? EVs are transformative. I'm going to get this wrong.
EVs are transformative for the UAW. It takes them from a United Auto Worker to an unemployed auto worker.
Yeah, all right. I love that. I am going to borrow that around the state. Yeah. Let's do that. That's so true. And think about it. 400,000 jobs, and they know it. Matter of fact, the Biden administration said we'll give the UAW billions of dollars to train people that we know we're going to put out of work. What? Why would we do that to ourselves and find ourselves more dependent on China that is basically saying we're coming to get you, America, little bit by little bit. We're coming. I mean, it's unbelievable that we would do this to ourselves. And then this. This goes down, it's like the three big lies of the modern era here, right? That the border is secure. Remember that big lie? Oh, yeah. Hey, inflation is not a problem. Oh, yeah. Remember that big lie? And the last one is, hey, we're with the government. We're here to help you. We all know that one. This has all been part of their plan, and you have stood in the way of the Chinese Communist Party and Democrats trying to ruin the United States of America. I will tell you this, we can beat this, and we're going to beat it a whole host of different ways when you send me to the United States Senate. I'm going to work with John Molinar, who's doing a phenomenal job back in Congress, highlighting the problems with China. It's not just here. They shouldn't be on our stock market. They don't have the same transparency as American company. Gone. By the way, the Democrats are telling you, gee, if we put a reciprocal tariff, meaning they won't let our stuff in, but here or there, but they put their stuff in here, and Trump said, hey, we're going to put a reciprocal tariff. The Democrats, oh my God, that's terrible. Why should we let them do that to us anymore? We're in a fight here. We're in a big fight. And we have to make up our minds as Americans. Do we want to be that independent, positive, hope-filled America? And I'm not talking about joy and hope. I'm talking about the next generation of Americans who should feel that they can be anyone they want, do anything that they want to do in their own way. You know that, America? You can take risk and keep the reward. You can build a beautiful farm like this if you want to without the state sending by to do farm inspections to keep you down. That's not the America I grew up in. Certainly not the America I stuck up my hand for and took an oath to the Constitution in the United States Army. I'll tell you that. But we're going to beat them the old-fashioned way. We're going to beat them at the ballot box. And then we're going to stop this plant, and we're going to get America back on track. That's what we're going to do. And so let's do this together. We're going to say today, we're going to work as hard as we've ever have, getting folks off their backsides, off the couches, into the voting booth this year. I can't think of a more consequential election than this one. Can we do another 4 years of what we've just lived through? Saw a woman yesterday, or excuse me, it was last week now, mother of 4. I start talking to her about, what's bothering her, what's keeping you up at night. She loses it. She said, I have to go to the food pantry the last 3 days of the month. I cannot afford to feed my 4 kids because of the inflationary factors. Gasoline, food, energy, taxes, regulation. So let's do this. We've got military folks who are scratching their heads, say, is the military worthy of my service? We have police officers who are saying, nobody's got my back. Let's make this election about feeding Gotion. Let's make this election about telling that mother, guess what, in November, we will have your back. Let's tell the police officers who don't feel that they're alone, we've got your back. Let's tell the United States military, the young men and women who are courageously serving, in November, we've got your back. Let's get this done. Thanks. God bless. Thanks, everybody. Hey, they want some footage. Help me out.